Thank you for joining us today. We've had a day full of conversations and we've come up to our last panel now. I wouldn't waste any more time in introducing you as your brands speak for themselves. I'll dive straight into our discussion. My first question is, of course, we're talking about multi-screen age. So as the consumer choices are always evolving, I'd like to ask how multi-screen behavior is influencing brand perception and decision-making. So I'll start with Amit.
Hi guys. What we are observing in real estate is very simple. Oberoi Realty is very focused on luxury marketing, and we are digital first company right now. Our focus has been very clear, go digital first and go offline a bit later. But yes, we focus on 360 marketing campaigns. When we talk about multi-screen behavior, we are more focused on our social media ads. We are now doing a bit of extended performance marketing as well. We are not into more of your influencer marketing and all that. So whatever content you see by Oberoi Realty is by their website, by the Instagram handles, by the social media pages and all that. Our strategy is very simple. We keep it very clean. We keep the visual heavy. Visual is the king over there. Everybody who's looking out there for buying a product or a real estate or an apartment, they're going to look for very strategic locations. They're going to look for very strategic things. We keep very neat, clean, clutter-free and visually heavy, creative. That catches the eyeballs for us. And whatever we do in one part of the social media campaign or our online performance campaign, that has been reflected everywhere for us. And that is really working for us. We don't do too much of push marketing. Very simple messaging and clutter-free design. And it's working perfectly fine for us.
Great. Esha, I would like you to.
Thanks, Aditi, for the opening question. I think that multi-screen has been there for a while. Like, it's not new, I would say. We have been, the moment we talk about multi-screens, we also just immediately talk about the reducing or the shorter attention span. I feel that today, if you have more screens, you have more options to reach out to the consumer in different ways. You really have to understand the language and the vibe of each. So it doesn't that it's a problem that's actually good for you, because the engagement matrix and the pathways that have opened up is like your options are better. But the problem that it brings in is that product then sort of becomes like a strong marketer in itself. So you really can't just depend upon the platforms that you have. And be it the incubator brands that we work with at Pegboard, or be it the content creators that we work with, we are a strategy firm. So we deal with this all the while, which is I want to create an IP, I want to be viral and all of that. But what we advise is that the attention today can be earned on multiple platforms because you have multiple choices, but resonance cannot be just bought, because that is something that you will have to create. What you stand for, what you believe in as a brand, what you really talk about, whether you're really just walking the talk, that is something which is like very important if you are a D2C brand, any category, be it service industry or like the consumer side. So in multi-channel era or omni-channel era, I feel the product just becomes more important and it just works for everyone's advantage. Yeah.
Absolutely. Gaurav, we'd love to hear from you.
Cool, thanks. First of all, I think thanks for a multi-screen era. Marketers have stopped chasing one program, one channel, one screen, right? And thank God that we are living in this era and dealing with the question of how to solve for multiple screens. I think the way marketers could navigate decision making through multiple screen, I think I'll keep it very simple and just talking about two things. I've always recognized marketing as like movie making, right? Equivalent of movie making. Your main tentpole story is like a Sanjay Leela Bhansali film. You have 5 stories running within one story, and how you utilize different screens out of this tentpole stuff that you have made is what is the other screens are for. So while you have a main story like say a Hira Mandi running, but you have the 5 different stories of a Sonakshi and a Aditi Rao Hydari and so many other leading women going out in different screens. So that's one thing. So one is utilization of different screens for different stories. Second is consistency, which is if you have a message for the giant screen, which is the television, then you have the similar message or the same message on the smaller screens as well, which is very important because since gone are the days where we used to only make one piece of content and roll it out everywhere, right? We are making 20, 30 different content pieces, rolling out in different channels based on the channel requirements. Therefore, consistency becomes one of the very important context to look into. A Raj and Simran in Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge will look like the same on television and will look like the same in your mobile phone in your hand. And the last piece is about, I think, context. An Instagram or a WhatsApp is two different contexts. A television is a different context, a family context. Perhaps Instagram is your break in your very, very dull and boring day. A WhatsApp is community and socializing this thing. So therefore, the messaging has to be extremely contextual, right? The same messaging, which was done in like how it was done in the past, which was trying to be coming in the way of your use of these apps. It has changed to now how you can be one of the message which appears in all of these contexts. So I think this is how we navigate today with multiple screens as marketers. Thanks so much.
Very well explained, Gaurav. I'd like Pallavi to throw some light.
Hi, Aditi. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Everyone's been extremely positive about the existence of the multi-screen phenomena. I'll speak like a true blue marketer and I'll probably share the con of it, saying it doesn't make our lives any easier. It has actually made it much more difficult because I feel we as marketers started in an era where storytelling was very important, right? So there were layers and layers and layers. And now with the multi-screen phenomena, the thing that I'm observing, particularly from the fitness industry perspective, is the brand authenticity part. I mean, you have to stay real to your core, to your story. And you can't layer up, you cannot put frills, you cannot sort of go into trajectories which you cannot be accountable for or you cannot support with arguments, right? Because people see through you. So authenticity, which I think Aisha also touched upon, it's become quintessential and which kind of drills down to simplicity. I think the key rider for us now is to keep our communication as simple as possible, to the point. If there is a problem, there is also a solution sort of a situation. And that is what is working. Adding to Gaurav's point, it is like movie making, but अगर box office पे success नहीं हुई तो satellite पे भी नहीं बिकता है, OTT पे भी नहीं बिकता है. मतलब audience relates to the authenticity, to the richness of your story, and they can see through it. So the slicing and dicing part of the content that Gaurav was talking about, as marketers, we're seeing fatigue setting in very fast. Now you have to keep refreshing your content. You have to sometimes maybe even carpet bomb. Like, the same 30 seconds edit, you cut multiple edits, you slice, dice, you see 12-second worked better, 10-second worked better, and then you kind of carpet bomb with all sorts of ammunition to see which one really resonated and which one should you put your money on. So it's literally become like battlefield. Perception, I feel, is too overrated. Dhanda aa raha hai ki nahi, that at the end of the day matters, because the amount of money that we have to put in now in digital marketing is insanity. In a way, now annual operational planning has become a multiplier of the money that you're putting in digital marketing. So to cater to these multiple screens that are now available, the AOP works on how much money versus how much multiplier. It's almost become like a mathematical problem to solve. And while we have the positives of multiple screens saying different audience type, different engagement metrics, different things to learn, we also have this aspect of marketing. Sorry for being the devil's advocate, but that's what it is.
Great, that's amazing. Pooja, we'd like to hear from you.
I think everyone has had some really strong points already said, so I don't have much to add except, in agreement with everybody that multi-screen is both a boon and a bane. It's also fragmented budgets for brands across the board, so it becomes very, very important as to what to choose as in terms of priority, because every screen has a different story to tell, quite frankly, and the user behavior for every screen is different. So instead of trying to be everywhere, the the suggestion is always choose your main screen and then plan according to the balance screens that you would like to be present on. So largely that's really where I'm coming from, because all the rest of my fellow panelists have very, very clearly communicated.
Thanks, Pooja. And my next question, I would like to start from you. So basically, we've touched upon the content part of it. I would also like to ask you, how do you create content that grabs attention and works well across different screens when there is so much of distraction?
If I had that answer, I think that would be such a... I think again, when it comes to multi-screen and wanting to be, capture attention across the screens, we've clearly identified that there is no one-size-fits-all anymore. Each screen has its own benefits and its own user behavior. So it really comes down to today that it's the consumer who's driving how we create content. It's no longer the brand who decides what goes on the screen. And that's really critical. Therefore, the brands have to, the same storytelling that we've been talking about is essentially taken marketing into more of communication across these different screens, and how are you going to make it relatable, authentic to the end consumer. So you start with the grandeur of TV. When it comes down to the mobile phone, it's all about authenticity and as real as you can be, because the consumer can see through all the bullshit. So marketing has to really connect at the end of the day, and that's what would help with more engaging content.
Absolutely. Aisha, would you like to add to that?
But I think I can build up on that. It's a tricky one. But I feel that when it comes to content, first of all, if you're a brand, you should create for depth. Of course, you need all of your assets and that consistent push. Once you have chosen your devices, I think one thing that we always advise to a lot of people is please build for depth to your homework. Don't try to be everywhere and try and see where you are talking what. If you're an agency, please advise your clients for virality will not get you the sales. I think Pallavi spoke about it. I'll take an example. If I take this event as a case study, okay? Let's talk about brand perception and how it's going to get live tomorrow across the internet. I'm going to post on Instagram. I will definitely mention my trousers and the brand that I purchased from. The brand is going to like it because Instagram really wants to know what am I breathing, what am I wearing. It doesn't matter to Instagram what am I speaking. Like, that's the algorithm. That's how it's going to work. That's one channel. On LinkedIn really wants to know what did I talk, who was I with, how did the panel look like, what did E4M really do here. YouTube is going to be the AV quality and the whole package, because it goes further into the funnel in terms of brand perception formation. But did you see, perception formation is easy. They wouldn't know the strength of the event, etc., etc. But the exchange which is happening over here, which is the panelists, what they are saying, the attendees, what they are listening, that will determine the strength of this event next year, which is the sales. So if you see, when it comes to content, what we are speaking, that still becomes a real hero. It's the resonance that we are striking. It's the quality, it's the depth. So it's totally not about the shorter attention span. I think it's about shorter interest span. Because if it was shrinking, we wouldn't have 2 hours of WTF by Nikhil Kamath still working, right? Because if we are going towards short form, we do see long form IPs also doing well. So I think it's about choosing the right kind of depth and doing deep work and not just vibing on virality and IPs because they are cool words. When it comes to creating content, go a little bit further and see whether you are creating content for impact.
Great, amazing. Amit, I would like to ask you, what is the one thing that sets your marketing strategy stand out?
So I'll clearly say when it comes to real estate, it's become very transactional. Like a customer is visiting our experience center, or they are seeing things online. It's just about what's the price, what's the location, what's the floor layouts and all that. What different today we need to do is have a good storytelling happening over there. When you have a good product over there, you need to communicate across with a very good story. That concept has to come out in a very different way. And through our digital platforms, we are doing that. Our social media reach and everything has gone so high I couldn't imagine this 5 years back, just before COVID. We became digital first and it helped us a lot. And today, what we are seeing, the tractions we are getting from social media, I mean, I'll be happy to say that it results in conversions. So, storytelling is really working for us and it helps our product as well.
Okay, Gaurav, would you like to?
I think keeping it simple has really worked for us. And by that, I mean, I think the age-old philosophy in marketing. Number one, I think listen to your consumers. When I say listen to your consumers, while it is a very evolved thought and I'm summarizing it in a very simple sentence, but I think all your creatives that go out, no matter which brand you work for in the world, have to be insightful. Which means that there is a consumer problem that you're trying to solve for and not sell your product. So that's number one. Number two, I think like how Pallavi said and Aisha said, I think authenticity. Now with, I was reading a report, I think we get bombarded with more than, I think 3,000 messages a day almost, right? If that number is to be believed or any of the ballpark, within those 3,000 messages in a day, I think you need to stand out. And authenticity is one of the probable metrics or one of the probable variables which can help you with a higher chance of success. So authenticity is one. We've also seen in 2024, if you recall some of the best, most viral ads, you will see shockvertising also as one of the routes that people have taken. It may not be an insight-driven marketing approach, but shockvertising, brands like Swiggy, brands like Zomato, they trend on the like how I used to put it, Zindagi na milegi dobara advertising, right? Which is for the moment and moment marketing, moment advertising. So that's the second part. So authenticity has a slightly better chance of success than shockvertising. And last, since we are extremely data driven in our marketing approaches and we handle a lot of data like pan-India data, we are slowly moving towards data and creativity and trying to manage both of it together. And by that, I mean, again, I'm simplifying a very complicated way of doing things. But data and creativity come together when N is equal to 1, which is how we marketers love to call hyper personalization, right? If somebody is doing it already, I heard Adit Palicha's Zepto's interview, and he said Zepto operates at N is equal to 1, which means their CRM and their creativity is operating at the level of just Gaurav Ramdev, which means that's the basket I have, this is the need I have in the morning, and that's the advertising that I'll get served. I think that's the highest level a brand can really achieve. So from Protean perspective, I think we are trying to be that Zepto, where we can operate at N is equal to 1. And I think that will be the ultimate mecca of hyper personalization or ads being served to exact needs of the consumer. Today we are not. So I think these three things, data and creativity, authenticity, a little better than shockvertising, and listen to your consumers 24/7.
Absolutely. Pooja, what about HRX?
Marketing strategy. I loved how Aisha broke it down. I think she nailed it, the whole academic approach of how different platforms work. But just to add to that, nowadays what I see happening around is working backwards, starting with trends and feeding into the brand. So much so that I've even seen brands trying to package their products depending on the trending colors and Instagrammable, the concept of Instagrammable pictures on the shelves and things like that, how it would look in a consumer's hand, how would it look when they kind of unbox it and things like that. I think we're very old school that way. And what has worked for us is the fact that we have not disregarded until now our brand guidelines and we stay true to it. We always start with the positioning. So even when my team kind of goes all over the place saying, hey, this is trending, let's do this, like, calm down, let's go back to the person we're talking to, because he's not Usain Bolt. I'm talking to an everyday athlete. Everyday athlete has trouble waking up and getting out of bed. So let's stay true to what we want to communicate and what do we want to solve for. So I guess that's the first step, which is staying true to your brand ethos and not kind of getting diluted in the frenzy of what social media is conveying or where it's taking you, or generally digital marketing, guides you to. And I think several other simple steps which we follow in our marketing is keeping the distance between the consumer and the brand shorter. That means I never want to send my consumer on a wild goose chase through a QR code. Bhai, QR code karo, phir ye download karo, then go ahead and do this, then accumulate points and then come back to me. None of that. Because none of that has classically resulted in conversion for us, at least in my category, and in fact has kind of seen the worst metrics, worst results in terms of output. So we just try to keep it very, very short, very simple call to action, very simple CTAs. The messaging is clean, as organic as possible, and something that's relatable. Because somewhere recently I was reading the kind of influencers which are beginning to do better are the ones who comfort you, because there's a lot of chaos and there is a lot of frenzy and overwhelming things that go on. I mean, literally, if you zoom out, you will realize that the kind of emotions that they trigger at a very psychological level overwhelms a consumer. Like Gaurav said, sensationalism, use this, you won't need Botox, do this, you won't need that. So all of this is kind of very, very overwhelming in messaging, and it's all sensationalism. So when you kind of step back, if you're actually genuinely trying to help people by being relatable, kind of solving a problem for them, saying, hey, you are normal, I'm normal, this is how I deal with my day, it's okay to cry, it's okay to, it's okay to have sort of numerous problems, mental health issues are okay, and then provide a solve for all of that, it's comforting. It's more consumable, it's more kind of real and relatable, and yields positive behavior from a consumer. So broadly, I think if I have to summarize these few things.
Thanks, Pallavi. Thanks a lot. Pooja, I would like to start with you. And we were having a chat backstage about this. This is about we're living in the AI era now. Everything is AI. So how are you using the new trends like AI or immersive technology to improve brand engagement across platforms?
AI is definitely the question of the future and exciting everyone in the content space today. We, in our space where we work a lot with influencers and brands, we're seeing AI come in through different modes. Internationally, China has really led this space with AI influencers, something that is giving brands a little bit more control in the space of influencer marketing, because they can own that AI influencer versus communication with other regular content creators. Also, the manner in which AI has developed for digital content, where the persona looks so real that sometimes you cannot tell the difference between real and AI, is definitely one to look at in the future to see how brands can convey their messaging, but now in a far more real and authentic manner. We've seen brands, interestingly, in the luxury space abroad. Burberry, for example, which was facing a lot of negative business impact due to fake Chinese goods, Chinese recreation of their very popular design. To counter this, they went and created an AI influencer who completely rebranded the brand for them, and with the kind of new designs and a very new reflective brand perception that they created, they were one of the few brands that showed that intelligent use of AI with the right communication approach can also change business. So I think a lot of the stuff we do today in social media, whether it is through AI or through all these inputs coming in, need to really define the output. So otherwise it's just too much chatter, everybody wants to do everything. But at the end of the day, it's about really identifying what is it that's going to trigger that purchase. And as marketeers, instead of getting excited about all the tools available, it's also about identifying which one can deliver that magic trigger to sale.
Absolutely. Pallavi, would you like to add?
I'm back to AI so soon. Like a couple of years back, this whole chatter was about big data, and I used to feel like an academic failure saying, what is this big data, like IBM, this, that. As a marketer, how will I educate myself? And then someone sat me down and said, okay, this is all chatter, but do you even know how it's used, or what is going to be the potential outcome, or how many people will end up using it? I said, no. And then he explained, broke it down to me saying, well, there is use, but the use cases, which will work, which will not work. And everything is not meant for everyone. So you hold on, hold your horses and see what happens. And today I see the utilization at a very macro level. It's not like it's become every marketeer's problem or it's a solve for every marketing sort of a dilemma today. I think the same thing is happening to AI. I am pro AI. Of course, I love the use of ChatGPT because I think it's a fab. And the way my team uses it for writing everything, starting with resumes to resignations, it's fab. And you can tell that it's a ChatGPT product. You can obviously see through it. All of it. I admire the use of it because I think it takes the productivity up. So the personal view on ChatGPT and AI tools is the fact that it enhances productivity, and that's what it should do. As long as you're hiring intelligent enough people to ask intelligent enough questions so that your output is productive and useful and not trashy and cookie cutter. So that's one aspect of things in terms of copywriting, in terms of fast productivity related tools and all of that. The other beautiful use case that I see and currently being used in our stream of work is obviously churning out content. What comes out some of the times is horrid. You spend money but you get good output. But that's definitely kind of taking the whole content game up. Influencer, I don't think we are ready for it, and we're going to tread that trajectory. But a very interesting use case which I would personally deploy for HRX and would be the future is at the back end. Let's say the CRM management and the call centers and things like that, where you replace the IVR approach with AI, and suddenly you have an agent, AI agent, actually aiding you take up your ASP, take up your basket size, take up your bill value. Because now what AI can do is tell you, hey XYZ, you just bought these running shoes yesterday, but you forgot those socks. Let me tell you, people who bought this also bought this, and it takes your running speed up by 2x. And also, by the way, winter is setting in. Would you need a jacket because the temperature in your city is going to drop to so and so? Now, those are meaningful conversations which I would like the AI agent to drive and add to my business at the same time. So I think this is one use case which I'm definitely eyeing and would end up deploying, which is almost like a virtual assistant of sorts who assists you in your shopping needs and ends up clarifying to you what you need and what you don't need and why do you need that. So yeah, AI would be, for a couple of years, limited to this for us, I believe.
Okay. Gaurav, would you like to?
Yeah, I think with AI, we have started dabbling with AI tools and where it can help. I think there are two vectors we're trying to explore it. One is the efficiency part of what Pallavi just said, which is how to make human intelligence superhuman, which is better copywriting, better creativity, faster turnaround times, so on and so forth. And the other bit that we've tried to implement AI tools is more to do with efficiency, with less people but much more work or much more output. So on the efficiency part, I think we've been fairly successful. It's been an experiment for the last 4 months, but like how Pallavi was mentioning, we've already gone down the part of ORM, social listening, and almost 60-70% of our responses, which are to do with mostly about consumer tracking of good delivery of goods and so on and so forth, have been automated, which is where I see further scaling. So almost at a daily count of almost 3,000 queries is what we get, and therefore automating 80%, 90% of it will really show efficiency gains across. So that's on the efficiency part. We are exploring whether this efficiency can be now, instead of reactive, we can get into the proactive zone of efficiency, where we can reach out through emails, through our CRM system, or AI plugged into the CRM system, instead of a reactive measure on social media, which makes for sentiment scores also to go down. But proactively, if we can push out messaging through email so that we don't get such queries there. So that's the path of efficiency that we have taken. On the path of creating new stuff, I think we are taking baby steps. One giant leap that happened for us this year is we created an annual report. We are a publicly listed organization, so we created an annual report with AIs, all of the AI use cases on creating the front cover, the back cover, the images inside all the infographics that we have with relating to the organization. All of that came through. And what was why it was a resounding success, because we also won a few awards. There is an annual report award called LACP, Global LACP Rewards. We were the 22nd organization in the entire world to win that award, and perhaps the third Indian organization only in that list. So that gave us a lot of, I think, that builds a lot of confidence in how we can use if works well. But that's still not at the place where we are eliminating agencies or eliminating cost of doing business or eliminating any of those. I think we are still using AI as an incremental spends of money over what we are doing presently. So really, it's not really efficient yet, where we can, like our social media team can completely rely on AI tools. It's not there yet, but I think we'll get there. I think this year, I hope to see from DeepSeek, Arva, and we've all seen what's happened in the last 3 days. With models like this coming up, I hope visual and video imagery really takes a leap and bound, while copy and textual delivery have really scaled up really high. So that's my point. Thanks.
Isha, we'd like to hear from you as well. How important is AI?
I think it's super important. I love AI. I think it started with a little bit of hatred towards it, because I've been in the industry in consumer science side where oh my God, it's going to replace data. It will make things so automatic. But now when I am running a strategy firm where data and creativity, like Gaurav spoke about, I'm so happy that we talked about both the words together. That comes into play. I love it. However, you have to create boundaries, just like any love-hate relationship. So we have this saying that we say that, hey, I want to use ChatGPT so that ChatGPT can do the chores and wash clothes so that I can make art. Not that ChatGPT should make art and I should get freed up, to do all the chores. I think that sort of explains. So that's for my content planning team loves AI, and we really, we really sort of like advocate that you use technology wherever it's needed. But if we are in a brainstorming room, we have to ideate and create thoughts that don't exist. That I think is where we condemn AI. So thoughts to things journey is definitely where we absolutely love AI, and I think we're just getting started. We've delivered use cases where transcripts have been faster. Like, when research used to get like outputs of a focus group discussions in like weeks. Someone is sitting under the tree, like they say, is coding it, but today you get it like in an hour. OCR, we've used a lot of image to text conversion, so much for some of our clients. You want to add something?
No, I just remembered how my team sends me MOM. There's like auto AI. And I'm zapped. It's like, what is this? This is the MOM for the meeting. Basically, I can hear myself talk. There is no MOM. There are no action points. There's nothing. No, that part of AI, I don't think it's using.
And you know what? It has been also like a surprising journey. The moment, oh my God, how has the team become so efficient? So those surprises, of course, have like come in on the way. So first part, of course, use it where planning and structuring is needed. Use it all for gray matter and wherever ideation doesn't come. And I think second, we also propagate a law that use ChatGPT and technology to just learn. Like sometimes when you are in a meeting and you want to discuss content strategy, that is not content planning, that is not social media. Sometimes people think that content is performance marketing. So it's like when you get into such rooms, then you feel that when we have so much of technology, rather use it to learn. Let's get our basics of marketing and branding in order before we jump into asking ChatGPT, hey, can you create like a calendar for me? So we're using it for optimization where needed and education so that the true principles of marketing and branding still stay intact, and it's incremental, like Gaurav mentioned.
I'll share one anecdote, the perils of brainstorming in the AI era. I was sitting with the team saying, how do we minimize our problem? Because the kernel is a superstar. Availability is a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
And somebody belonging to the Gen Z era comes up saying, hey, why don't we create this sentient AI clone of Ritik who can solve for the availability problems? And the peril of brainstorming in this era is also these kind of discussions that you combat and all these kind of ideas that people come up with.
It was to save the time cost for something like a team.
No, it's to save the effort on our part so that you don't have to mess around with calendars.
Amit, we'd like to hear from you as well. How's real estate using AI now?
So it's a quite a risky thing to use AI when it comes to, because we handle a lot of customer data out there. There is one thing we are using it for is to have customer feedback forms, and it tells us about the consumer behavior and why he has bought that apartment, what is he looking out there, and when he buys an apartment with us. It also helps us in generating a lot of reports very quickly. I'll just cite one example. Recently, we had a demo session with Microsoft team, and they had the autopilot team come over here. And I had, as Pallavi mentioned, it's quite essential and a good tool at the CRM, at the backend, at the call center people. And I had the call center head come to me, Amit, I'm using the demo. I was like doing 12 clicks and working on my Excel, downloading things from Salesforce, and then getting into the whole thing. Here with this autopilot, I'm just doing it in 2 clicks. I understand where the consumer is coming from. Is he an investor? Is he a real buyer? And all the data that my team needs, I'm like getting it done in 5 minutes. So at the back end, it's really helping us. We are moving towards AI, not completely pro AI right now. When it comes to handling customer data, it's quite confidential stuff, but yes, we are getting there. When it comes to creative, generating a little bit of generic content, yes, it's helping us. Email marketing is the very important tool when it comes to luxury marketing. We are not using AI right now. We tend to get on with our content writers to write good pieces for us, because we truly believe in personalized touch points where the customer is going to read. And we don't want to sound very robotic over there, because these days customers are very smart and they really come to know this is an AI generated email, the copy is written from somewhere else, or is it like, having your own product touch and feel or not. So yes, there are 50% usage, yes, at the back end, but at the front end, we are not much AI right now.
Thank you. And now I'll just ask my fun question, which you guys know about. I hope you guys have thought something about it. If you have to, is there any song, if I ask you, that resonates with your brand, with your journey? Please, let's start with Amit.
I don't have any song or something, and when I entered the whole meeting room at the back, and I told her I can't relate to anything, because I used to be there with Godrej, and Godrej was very much more of a mass marketing, because the category of the products was very different. And right now I'm with Oberoi, which is a very luxury and uber luxury segment. And there is only one movie I could say, it's not connected to my brand or anything, but that's only Devil Wears Prada. That's the only high-end movie I could think about right now.
Super. Esha.
I think that if I was to ask my editing team, they would say it should be 4 baj gaye, lekin party abhi baki hai. But then I think sales and brand perception value, I think pegboard holistically, we all would somewhere agree. Like as a team, we would be, kiska hai ye tumko intezar mein hona. Yeah, like that. Yeah.
Amazing. Gaurav.
So where Protean is in its journey, I think I don't know about a song, but a movie that comes to my mind is Swades. Protean is at the forefront of citizen services, especially e-gov services or government services to citizen, and therefore Swades comes to my mind. So Protean is equivalent of the Shah Rukh Khan who left a NASA job, came back to India to build high technology for the last mile. So that's the equivalent analogy.
That's wonderful, and that goes really well with your brand, definitely. Pallavi.
I mean, you're talking about brand perception. I have to do this. Please brace yourself. Kaho na pyar hai. Can't get better than this.
Pooja, would you like to?
I think for us it would be Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara. I think the movie is amazing in terms of living life to its fullest and diving in and making the most of what you have.
Amazing. Thank you so much for taking out the time for us. That brings us to the end of our discussion. And thank you so much for joining.